My name is Patrick Hall with Fstoppers.com, and today I want to release a small excerpt from our 14-hour-long wedding tutorial called How to Become a Professional Commercial Wedding Photographer. When Lee and I first started this wedding tutorial, we really wanted to have something for everybody. So if you're a professional who's been shooting weddings for years, or maybe you're an amateur who's thinking about getting into wedding photography, we wanted to cover all the basics as well as all the advanced lighting techniques, and we also cover all the important things that go into running a successful business. If you want more information on everything that we cover in this 14-hour-long tutorial, head over to fstoppers.com/weddingdvd. But today, in this small excerpt, I want to take you on one of my engagement photo shoots and give you some real practical advice that you can apply to your own photo shoots so that you can get the best pictures possible with your clients. So guys, we are down here in downtown Charleston at the Battery Park, and I'm going to show you a bunch of scenarios that I like to put my couples in when I do my engagement shoots. The whole point of these shoots that Lee and I are going to do throughout this DVD is to show you some of the technical skills that you can bring onto your own photo shoots. And you may not like everything that we do, but hopefully you can take a lot of the lighting techniques, the posing techniques, and just the general placement techniques and put those into your own photographs so that you can get really great results. So when you start booking your first weddings, you're probably going to have clients who are going to ask for engagement sessions. And all an engagement session is it's usually just casual pictures of the couple hanging out kind of in that stage when they're dating. They may use these images for their save the date invitations, they may print them out and put them at the wedding reception, and they may use them in the newspaper. So these photos are really important to a lot of couples. So you want to make sure that you take the best pictures you can of them, and you really want to focus on them interacting with each other, because that's what's really going to separate these photos from any other photo they've had taken of themselves. And these are potentially the first photographs that anybody's going to see of your work. We've already talked a lot about the gear that we use and the gear that I think you should buy when you're just getting started, but just to show what I'm going to be using on this shoot, I'm actually going to have two D300Ss. I have this camera fitted with Nikon's Premier 24-70 2.8 lens. I also have the 70-200 2.8 lens. So even though I have two of Nikon's best lenses on these cameras, the whole idea is that you don't need the best camera to shoot really great photos. So again, don't think that you have to go out and buy the best gear. You can really use the tools that you already have to produce really great photographs. So this shot here, a lot of times I'll put couples down in the grass. This is a really nice park, so this shot works really well. But a lot of times I'll see people that will shoot from up above, shooting down. And you can definitely do that, but you'll see the look that this image has here. And it's just kind of a not such a flattering perspective. I really want to show the whole park. So a lot of times what I will do is get really low to the ground, and sometimes it makes you look a little funny as a photographer, but you can actually bring the background down with them and you can shoot through the grass, and it just gives a really cool look. So just remember, as a professional photographer, you need to take every step that you can to make your images look completely different from every other person with a camera. And this is one easy way, is to get really low and shoot wide, or you can get really far away and low and shoot telephoto. The joys of the job, right? So this is the natural shot here with manual settings. I am shooting at 1/60th at 2.8, which I almost always shoot at 2.8. And then the white balance is set to 6200, and it looks really good, but I think we can get this looking just a little bit better with just a slight pop of flash in this photograph. So right now we've added just a little bit of flash in a very small softbox, and on this example we're using the Einstein. It's set to 128 because it's pretty powerful and we want to just have the slightest pop of light in here. And I'm going to have the light come down in height just a little bit, so it's just barely above their noses. And it's going to give really flattering light to the couple only and really separate them from the background. Lauren, can you get just a little bit closer? So a lot of times you may have the light very close in power, and instead of having to yell at your assistant to go up in power or down in power, you can actually have them just step back a little bit or step a little bit closer. So this is really helpful, especially if they're constantly adjusting the light. Sometimes I can just say, hey, move back a little bit or move a little bit closer. And also keep in mind that if you move the light closer to your subjects, it's going to become even softer because the light source is going to appear larger. If you move back, the light source is getting smaller and it's going to start to look more like a bare bulb flash, which is really counterproductive if you have a softbox. So you'll notice with these photographs, Jason and Kristen's heads are getting a little lost in the trees. So what I can actually do if I bring a second assistant or if I had a light stand is I can put another light behind them, and that's going to act as a kicker light. I have this light set to 1/32. It's just a single SB800 in a softbox, and it's really going to help separate them even more. This may be a little bit of overkill, but if you take the extra time to do this, it's going to make these images really stand out.
Nick, can you get just a little closer? Y'all can flirt more than that, right? Are y'all past the flirting stage?
So one thing I just want to show everybody here is I have this light pretty much balanced perfectly with the ambient and then the strobe light, but a lot of photographers might have the tendency to really underexpose the ambient light and use a lot of strobe light. So right now I'm at 1/60th. I'm going to go all the way up to 2/50th, which is the highest sync speed this camera does. And then I'm going to take the ISO all the way down to 100. And I'm probably now going to have to readjust my lights, but I'm going to show you what it looks like to completely strobe my subjects and kill the ambient altogether. And I don't think the shot really looks as good because of that. Lauren, if you can go up 2 stops. And you'll have to go up 2 stops as well.
Lauren, come down in height a little bit. And can you come around their face, just like lean it in a little bit? Great, now I'll take a bunch of these.
So you can really see with this image that we took here, you know, it's very stroby, it looks very flashy. It has a cool look to it, but we've completely destroyed the whole park. And I think for a lot of photographers, it's very easy for them to go into this realm where they're lighting everything and they're completely ignoring the natural light. So if you can use natural light to your benefit, it's really like having a second or third light. And a lot of times the natural light is going to be the base exposure before you add any light to your photograph. I think a lot of photographers have this misconception that they need the most powerful flash unit or the most expensive studio strobe to produce really good photographs, and that simply just isn't the case. In fact, when you're out here mixing daylight, usually you need just a tiny little bit of flash to really give your subjects that pop, and most of the light is going to come from the natural environment. I'm going to be using basically 2 setups that I use throughout all of my weddings and engagement shoots, and the first one's really simple. It's a softbox on a monopod, and I'm just using 2 SB800s, small little speed lights. So this isn't super powerful. Having 2 units makes it a little stronger, but I find this is really good just to pop in an extra little bit of flash on my subjects, and it's super convenient, super lightweight, and I can give this to my assistants and they can light pretty easily. And the truth be told, you really don't even need 2 flashes in here. I just have this as a backup in case something happens to the first one, or if I need that 1 extra stop of power, I do have it here. But the reality is I probably shoot 70% of the time with just 1 speed light. The second lighting setup that I use at a lot of weddings is a Paul C. Buff Einstein, and it's again just a small softbox on a monopod. And I use this more at weddings because a lot of times I'm in situations that aren't ideal. Maybe it's really bright, and in that case it is better to have a little extra power in your studio light. But most of the time on engagement shoots, I just use the SB800s. They're very lightweight and they're a little bit easier to carry around than this thing with a battery pack. But I'm gonna mix both of them into this session so that you guys can see exactly what I do. And maybe you already have lighting equipment or you wanna get a monoblock, this would be a good one to get. So another go-to shot that I do all the time is I usually have the couples hold hands and then walk away from me and then walk right back. It just kind of mixes things up, and it's the least posy thing that you could do with any couple, and it gets them moving and interacting in a way that's just totally different than setting them in a location. So in this particular example, they're really backlit, and I'm gonna try to pull this shot off with no lighting at all. For this shot, it's really easy just to get the light perfect with natural light, and then they can just kind of walk in and out of that light and it's gonna look really good. So what I'm gonna get them to do is walk straight down, and I'm gonna get shots while they're walking to the spot that I have picked out, so I can get some shots from behind and it's just a different angle, and then I'm gonna have them turn around and walk back towards me. And because they're backlit, I'm probably gonna have to overexpose on the camera, but then in post-processing, I can bring some of the black points back in and give a little more contrast if it's a little washed out on the camera. With this type of shot, you're probably gonna wanna shoot telephoto. And so I'll usually shoot towards 200 millimeters, and then as they walk towards me, I can zoom out back to 70 millimeters, and I have a long time to get the perfect shot during that entire transition. And stop there and turn around, but don't walk yet. When you guys walk towards me, a lot of people have the tendency to look down. That never looks good in photographs. So if you guys look past me, if you look at each other, if you look up, you can really look anywhere except down, and then interact with each other as much as you can as you walk slowly towards me. So go ahead and come this way. And stop right there. Can y'all face each other? And you can get in real close there. You can get closer than that, right? So in this particular shot, they're actually now in the shade, but this whole entire sky that's in front of them right now is acting as a huge softbox. It's very soft, the sun's not hitting them directly, but the sun's backlighting the background, which is really giving a lot of cool contrast, a lot of highlights, and it's almost like a two-light setup with no lighting at all. I have a nice softbox in front of them, which is the open sky, and then I have a kicker light behind them, which is the sun actually coming through the trees. So you have to remember as a photographer, if you can look at a scenario, you might actually be able to find light that's very dynamic and acts as 2 or 3 lights on its own. One last thing to remember when you're shooting telephoto is you really want to make sure that your shutter speed is faster than probably 200th of a second, or maybe even 400th of a second, so that you don't get any blur. And what I do is I usually set my ISO a little bit higher, maybe even ISO 800, which might seem really high for out here, but when you're shooting at telephoto lengths, you really want that shutter fast so that you get the sharpest image possible. As you go throughout an engagement session, you probably want to get a lot of different looks. You probably want the couple walking, you may want them up against a wall, you may want them interacting with each other just in open area, and you probably want them sitting as well. So we found this cool little area that's got a lot of rustic bricks. It's just down here on Church Street in Charleston. So I just set them down in an area that just would look really natural for them to be. And when I took the first natural light shot, I could tell that there just wasn't any dramatic light to really make this photograph look the way that I envisioned it in my mind. So I set the ambient light really low, and you can see that test shot here. And then I had Lauren, again, with the same softbox on a stick setup. She just popped a little bit of light as the key light from the front, and you can see that photograph here. And then looking at the length of this building, I really thought, man, if I could put one more light just backlighting the side brick here, it would really make this image come together. So I had Nick go out a little bit further down the road and backlight the entire wall with the Einstein. And because the Einstein's so powerful, he had to only be at 1/32nd power to get the look that I wanted. So again, 2 light setup, very simple. And the reason I really had to light it this way was because it's getting dark and I'm just really running out of light. So you can easily do really cool photo shoots even when the sun has set, if you have 1 or 2 lights available. So it's the very end of the day, the sun has set, we pretty much have no light out here, but it's super dramatic. In Charleston, we have these awesome clouds here on the Battery, and I know it's gonna make for a really good photograph. So guys, that's just a small excerpt from the engagement section of this tutorial. I hope you took something away from it, and if this interests you, head over to fstoppers.com/weddingdvd to learn even more about the entire 14-hour long tutorial.